pretty much of the same thinking when the team sheet came out for that one. It's just like, what is going on? Just cannot make sense of it.
It was another one of like the classic, the admin putting it as 5 at the back, and everyone's like, "Is it? Isn't it?" And then I was surprised that Kilman was left back, and obviously Dendoncker got dropped. Jack mentioned he wasn't very good against Palace, so that was probably justified. But also Moutinho wasn't either, so I wouldn't have done that myself personally. But credit to Nuno, because we know Moutinho ended up scoring an absolute screamer. But Kilman left back got absolutely annihilated in the first 20 minutes or so. They could have been a few goals up. Arsenal, to be fair, he
first 20 seconds.
Yeah, first 20 seconds. But attack it going forward. The lineup, I really like that. That's, as you were really, wasn't it? Like what you expect to be there. But yeah, defensively with 4 at the back, which shocked me, by the way, was an absolute like car crash in the first half. It was so bad.
Bayliss, 4 at the back, we weren't sure really what to expect of it. Semedo coming into that right-hand berth, does that show that he's not quite favoured in that left-back berth because Kilman was there?
It just shows that he's absolutely shit. That's it. I've been proven right time and time again. Every single time I get told, no, you're wrong, no, you've got something against him. I'm just correct. I'm just right. I've been right for weeks. I'm right again after this game. And I've summed it up. I've worked out what it is.
Can I ask one question,
Bayliss? Same with a lot of Wolves players. It's not just Semedo.
Can I ask one question?
You can ask a question, yeah.
Apart from the horrendous mistake he made for the Arsenal goal, do you think he had a good game after that in general?
Right, I'm getting to it. So this is how I'm summing up Wolves at the moment, and especially Semedo. Semedo is a prime example of this. When we're up against it, and we need players to get stuck in, and we need them to show their worth, and we need them to show some quality, they all fucking disappear. Semedo's the prime example. When it's going hard, and when we've got to work for it, he's fucking nowhere. When it's good, and we're on the ascendancy, and Wolves have got the ball, and we're attacking and pressing all over them, creating chances, brilliant. Great player. Fantastic to have. Confidence is up. But when you really need a player like that, when you really need a top quality footballer of his caliber, he's fucking nowhere. He's disappeared. There's no point in even being on the pitch. And now we've seen it, and it's been proven, and I'm right. He is used to playing superstar football at Barcelona, where they're in the attack and on the ascendancy for 99.9% of the games he plays and time he's on the pitch. But when we need him here and now at Wolves, when we've been in the shit, he's nowhere. He's a waste of fucking time. Now, after he had the absolute debacle and we came out second half and gave it a bit, hell of a lot better. Wonder why? Because we can play, we've got the ball, we're passing it, we're creating chances, he can do what he wants. Brilliant.
They've got 9
It's
men.
no good having him then.
Yeah, that's why.
It's no good having him then. That's not when we've needed him.
Well, no, Jack.
I'm just right. I'm
Jack,
completely right.
A little bit triggered there, but can you argue
I'm
with
not
that?
pretty triggered. I mean, I've watched. Let's just get off Semedo for a second. Let's just go back. How we weren't 3 or 4-0 down at half time in that game, I don't know. So the 4 at the back was a joke. We were getting ripped apart. It shows how it's just a real funny game, football, and it really can just turn on the toss of a coin with the way it panned out at the very end of that first half. But we got ripped apart. And Arsenal, it's one of those games where somehow we've got on to win that. But if you just told me after 44 minutes we were going to go and win that game, I'd have said you were mad, because we were getting absolutely battered. And Kilman at left back, absolutely not. Never want to see it again. It should have been changed at half time, I think, or just even halfway through the first half when they just kept getting in. I'd rather have seen Semedo on the other side and play Hoover. But then there's no excuse of Semedo for their goal. I know they've had numerous chances and we'd been saved by VAR and they'd had, hit the woodwork. But for their goal, you watch it back and Semedo has the ball and he has a chance to clear it and he kicks it up in the air. It goes back to him. He has another chance to clear it. Messes it up. He has another chance to clear it again just as the player is approaching the box and he ends up on his arse. Granted, then Neves gets done as well. But he's had 3 different attempts to stop that happening and he screwed up all of them. The first one was just by a fluff up in the air. It's like nearly on the halfway line. And it's just, what are you doing? And it comes back to him. He has another chance to rectify it and just ends up giving it to one of their players. So, yeah, it was shocking. I'm not going to overreact and say that he's the worst player ever and that Bayliss is right or anything because, he had a very dodgy moment. But, his performance has been all right lately. He's been improved, definitely. But
strange, isn't it? Because I want to pick up on.
I don't know.
Pick up on something Harry said there, and I think it was the question to Bayliss where he said, apart from the horrific mistake he made for their goal, what did he do wrong? And I just want to know which player you'd also afford that luxury of saying, apart from the horrific mistake they made for their goal, how good
No,
was
you get it. You can't do it when you're under the cosh like that. I think Kilman got destroyed as well, but Semedo's done it consistently. I think before the goal, he did a couple of things where he gave the ball away needlessly and did a couple of other daft things. But when we had the ball and we're allowed to play football, he's a lot better. But we don't need that. I use the analogy in another group with some mates of cricket because it's what I know as well.
Oh no!
If you're a batsman and you score 100 runs when you're 400 for 2, it doesn't really matter. It's a nice to have. You need a batsman that goes in when you're 50 for 5 and then scores 100. And Wolves haven't got anyone like that. We haven't got anyone that can go and get stuck in when you're really up against it.
We've got number 3.
Bolly does it well. Cody does it some of the times, but he's due a mistake. But I think the other defenders that we've got in the squad at the moment just haven't got the grit to go and do it when it's really, really needed. We did it against Chelsea quite well, in all fairness to us. We did do it against Chelsea quite well. But that's a one-off in a bad run.
I see what you're saying.
All these negatives aside, I don't want to get stuck on the negatives because I think it was one piece of not luck because it was genuine. They didn't score and we got an opportunity and we would have scored if he hadn't been brought down. So I don't want to keep looking at the negatives, but they have got to be addressed. And Wolves are going to have more bad runs. It isn't going to end. We weren't some spectacular turnaround against Arsenal, were we? Just went our way, which is what we needed.
Do you agree with that, Harry? It's the result that's the most important thing from last night, isn't it?
Yeah,
we just needed to win.
Look, the first half, we're right to be a bit negative about the first half defensive, but we've got to be positive. We have won. We have turned it round. Yes, Arsenal self-imploded and their goalkeeper did a Superman punch. David Luiz was clumsy and got sent off too. But we won the game. We probably should have won by more goals, but you've got to be happy. Neves was brilliant, took his penalty well. He was all over the park. William Jose, really, really good. Neto, amazing again. Even Moutinho. I wanted Moutinho dropped out of this team. And he scored that absolute wonder strike. And you've seen the passion in his celebration. It's so good to see. And I'm glad he scored it because I want him to be like he was a year or so ago or a few years ago when he was really good and our main man. But I'm glad we won. I'm glad we've turned it around and I'm just really buzzing. So let's get a bit more positive about the result instead of let's try not to slate it.
Harry, I agree with you. I want to be really, really positive, and I'm going to be when we talk about how we turned it round. I just think you can't put on your rose-tinted specs and not talk about how we got battered for 44 minutes.
The thing that worried me is I was really upbeat because Nuno in his press conference, he said he sat down with the players, probably talked about what was going wrong, talked about how they want to play and what formation they want to play. And the decision of that was obviously, we want to play 4 at the back. And then he's all smiles and like, now it's time for actions. And we get absolutely raped for 44 minutes. That's what happened. And we can't overlook that because it was worrying. Granted, then we got a massive. Well, was it a slice of luck? I think
it's a good pass from Pedro, wasn't it? Like,
I think it was a good. I think he would have scored. It would have been 1-1 at half time if Luiz hadn't clipped him and got sent off. It would have been 1-1 half time. Arsenal would have probably still gone on to win the game if it had continued in the same fashion. But I mean, we can talk about the sending off. Really, I think there was. There was 2 instances, wasn't there?
We've talked about it before, haven't we, Jack? And I think you pointed out the double jeopardy thing, and it's exactly what happened to Arsenal, wasn't it? And
it's the rules.
It's one of those things. It's what the rule is, isn't it? The law is an ass, and it probably does need changing.
I think it was a bit harsh, and if it was been, on Wolves have been on the wrong side of that. When granted, he's clipped him, he's denied a goal scoring opportunity. It's definitely a penalty. Is a red card a bit harsh in that situation?
Yeah, I think
we saw it with the Southampton game as well. A similar thing happened. And when they say if you're trying to reach for the ball and you absolutely clatter him, you'd only get a yellow. But then if you accidentally trip him when you're running back, then it's red. It's a difficult one, but I mean they did apply the rule correctly. I mean with Leno for the second one, God knows what's going on there. But
Jack, I just think if it had just been a yellow card, any time a player gets a run on you, you just bring him down. Just get him down. Doesn't matter if you try and go
weird,
for it.
Wasn't it? Because he clipped him accidentally. It's looked like whether he knew. Yeah, what did he know what he was doing? I don't think he did. Look at the replays. He was just running back.
Yeah, but look at the handballs. They're accidents. Kilman didn't mean to punch the ball, did he?
I suppose it was a weird rule because I'll be honest, I had no idea that was the rule. When was it Walton again at half time for BT Sport when he explained that if you do it accidentally and you're not actually going for the ball, the double jeopardy don't count then, and it is a red. I didn't know that rule, so when I first saw it, I was like, oof, pretty harsh there. And then
It's one of those that was designed. If a player breaks through and someone just takes his heels, then he gets sent off. But obviously, it's then worked closer
Makes
to the
sense.
goal. I mean, if he hadn't have touched him, he'd have stayed up and slotted
It's
it, wouldn't he?
something he's done before,
scoring
isn't
that.
it, David Luiz? He's just a walking accident, and he's just a calamity sideshow Bob, isn't he? Treading on rakes. That's all it reminded me of. Is that he was just nowhere near the ball, was he? You may as well just let him have the shot.
Yeah.
Arsenal fans were kicking off about that, though.
Well, they
Saying
didn't
that
think there was
his
contact, did they?
They're saying that his reputation preceded him, and that's why he got sent off. Because he's known as being a calamity that does these sort of things.
Yeah.
I mean, VAR checked it, and I mean, it's definitely. I think we can all agree
Definitely
it's a
a
penalty.
penalty.
I don't think even Arsenal fans are disputing it's not a penalty, because even though there's minor contact, if you're just about to slot the ball home and someone takes the leg you're shooting with, you know that's a foul, isn't it? So, but I don't know with this ending off, and it's one of these where the rules in the book, they don't actually properly they don't take into consideration.
What is that noise?
It's actually the clap for Sir Tom.
Yeah.
That's quite
Was
loud.
it?
Should we clap?
Well done.
Wait, I wonder if that's
Didn't know
being
that was
picked
a
up on the
thing.
audio.
Be honest.
Well done.
I think Arsenal
Um,
appealed that penalty, by the way. The red card, sorry. I think they've appealed it. I think I saw that on Twitter. Could be wrong,
I
but
don't
Why?
think
It's
it'll
in the
get
rules of the
overturned.
game.
Because it doesn't take into account accidents in the letter of the law, does it? In those circumstances,
The other big problem is that every Premier League football player tries to go down at the first opportunity. So it's daft to not have it in there.
what did you think of just changing games? Did you see the Martial one on Southampton?
I didn't.
He looked for it so much, but it probably is a pen.
It was a similar thing, and again, I don't really like it. And he was definitely looking for the penalty in that situation, and contact was minimal. He planted his leg looking for it. Martial, wasn't it? I think. And yeah, I mean, they're ones that if they go against you, you're going to feel really hard done by. But by the letter of the law, they're probably correct. And the thing is, David Luiz in that situation, just let us score. You're probably going to win 4-1 Arsenal the way they were playing. And on that, he's turned the game and it's changed it and lost the game. Even though I was worried for the last 10 minutes when we were playing against 9 men, which is shocking. But we just needed to get over the line, didn't we? Because we're team low on confidence. We just needed a bit of luck to hopefully turn our season around and finally get a win and build on that. Hopefully we can do that now until we obviously go and get battered by Leicester and Southampton next week.
The other thing that we haven't said is that David Luiz can't consider himself unlucky, and Arsenal fans can't consider what happened unlucky. Luiz got completely the wrong side of his man and had to try and catch up with someone that was through on goal. Like, any contact there, you're in big trouble. Like, you can't say, oh, it's an accident and David Luiz doesn't deserve it. He's got himself in a terrible position to try and defend that ball and then took the bloke down.
They can say they're unlucky with the fact they hit the bar. They had one ruled out for VAR and should have been 4-0 up by the time we even had a shot. but
that's football.
That is football.
If you don't
That's
score,
football.
yeah, I mean, it's that, and they've not taken it very well, have they, on Twitter or
Oh, no.
the Arsenal fan TV?
Oh, it's been brilliant.
Harry, how important was this game for Moutinho and Neves? Because obviously Neves coming back into the side, he hadn't played. Moutinho easily, maybe even his worst run of form through his career, both scoring, and Moutinho scoring an absolute Bobby Dazzler, a steam rat.
Yeah, Steam Rat. That was huge for both of them because we know they really struggle to play with each other, don't they? So that's why I was surprised to see them together. But fair play to both of them. Like you said, they got their goals. They're both contenders for man of the match, in my opinion. But I'm more happy for Moutinho. Because although Neves has had his dodgy spells, he has performed quite well in parts this season. But Moutinho has been really struggling. So to see him stonk one in like that, how many goals he scored for Wolves? You can count on one hand, can't you? So for him to ping one out like that was just so good to see. And like I said a minute ago, I loved his celebration. And I hope his legs aren't going because he's like a Wolves legend in my eyes. So I hope he can get confidence from this and push on. But we'll see. Let's hope he can do it.
He's 34 though, isn't he? I mean, you're expecting his legs to go at some point, and it probably is going to be around now, isn't it? It's just who do you replace him with, and how do you do it? Obviously, Vitinha came on. I thought it was all right when he came on. Obviously, it's a little bit easier when you've only seen him against Chorley and against 9 men with Arsenal, but still, it's minutes under the belt, isn't it?
I thought Vitinha is very good. I like Vitinha. Out of the youngsters that have currently come through out of Silva, Aït-Nouri, Hoover and Vitinha, the one that I see playing consistent first team football soonest is Vitinha,
Yeah.
which means he will be sold in the summer now and never be heard of again.
We don't own him, do we? He's a young loan.
No, but 20 million option on it. If we want to buy him, we can buy him for 20 million. I thought Traore was much better as well because he's had a bit of criticism. He had a much better game. Everyone going
Looks
forward
a
did
little bit more
defensively, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was only in that second half because we had the advantage and the ascendancy.
9 men, yeah. Keep forgetting about that.
I mean, you
does help,
can't.
doesn't
We
it?
scored the goal when they had 10, and 10
Yeah.
isn't,
Yeah.
still.
I'm just gutted for my corners bet. Couldn't believe it.
What was that stat, Sam?
175-1.
You've reminded me now by
Oh
saying about
yeah,
your
I've got a
bet.
great stat.
The 49 and
Got-
15.
got-
Come on, Bayless, tell the
Wolves
people.
scored in the
Yeah, I've got to give credit to Chris Webster, fan of the show, Charlton Athletic fan. Wolves scored their first goal later than they scored their second goal.
love
The
that.
first goal was scored in the 50th minute. The second goal was scored in the 49th.
Wow.
Time travel.
Stats.
Don't tell
like
Arsenal fan TV that. They'll be on all the Illuminati on us again.
Back-
Wake
Oh,
up, America.
that. Ty'll have his third eye open.
Oh, I hope not. Get demonetized. Okay. Let's